And I know an area that you like a lot are the offshore drillers and offshore service companies. And I know that Valaris, VAL, is one of your favorites. It has been under a lot of pressure, as have been almost all energy stocks. Like I was actually quoting Louis Gove here recently, I think it was last week with Adam Taggart, that somebody said, and you've seen this actually at the price of oil since the inauguration, that oil is going down because of drill, baby, drill. But somebody forgot to tell the oil service stocks because they've been in a vicious bear market. But it does seem to be kind of ending. There does look to be a bit of a bounce back occurring, but Valaris is still extremely undervalued in your view, correct?
100%. Yeah. So this is probably what I find the most compelling sort of little sector at the moment is what I call like the drilling cartel, which I would sort of include the likes of Tidewater, Valaris, Seadrill, Noble, even
Transocean.
even Transocean. Yeah. Granted, it's, yeah, I don't find it as attractive as the others at this point. But yeah, I find, so going through the entire, like, why we're so negative on oil, I just wrote a big piece on this, and I just think the demands, the sort of expectations of demand is too pessimistic, and we're already seeing the likes of IEA revise demand up. They always underestimates the developing market.
They certainly do.
It's like
been
a
a
running
big
joke.
topic of mine.
Yeah, they just do it every year. It's like, it's insanity. It's probably one of my favorite charts. Is they've underestimated it by what was it, a decade straight by yeah, and then they have to have these massive revisions. So yeah, you can I think, yeah, I always say you can pencil in at least 1 million barrels, if not sort of 1.3 is kind of the average. And then once you see that demand holding up, GIEA is now currently sort of saying, yeah, that's more or less where it's going to land. Then you go
So
on the
just to be clear,
supply
you're talking, when
side.
you say 1 million barrels, you're talking about 1 million barrels a day, right?
Yeah, yeah,
That's massive. A
yeah.
massive and continual, well, not perpetual, but repeating undercounting, repetitive undercounting that's gone on. I think the last I saw from Mike Rothman from Cornerstone, who's really kind of the world's expert on this, he calls it missing barrels. The missing barrels
Yeah.
are up around 1 billion now, and they do these periodic revisions and to try to get in line with reality. And then they, for the next few years, stay in their la la land, and then the divergence grows again. It reminds me a lot of the jobs numbers in America, frankly, where people focus on what, Bureau of Labor Statistics reports contemporaneously, and then the passage of time, they go, oh well, we're off by 600,000 jobs over a year's time or whatever it is, and but nobody pays attention to that. Just like nobody pays attention to the IEA's revisions except for you and Mike Rothman and maybe me. So, but reality is reality, and at some point, the actual inventory levels do bite. And I think we're just creating this kind of chronic undervaluation of oil because they are considered to be the authority still, despite the fact they really should have no credibility.
I I don't understand why they have any credibility with that forecast track record. But yeah, as you say, it's a horrendous record. And then you look on the supply side, and shale is topping out. Yeah, if you track the real time data, they are plateauing. They haven't been able to set sort of new times high, new time, full time, time. They haven't been able to break through from their all time high from sort of 2023. If you remove the adjustments, it's plateauing. And people I follow really closely that are sort of all over the real time data, the likes of HFI research, just showing that it's topped out and it's getting gassier. The only things that are increasing are gas and NGLs, and all the additional supply that's forecast, it's going to fail to show up. And once you understand that, then if you bring up the charts of all the sort of the break evens, the IRRs, it's pretty clear that deep water is next in line. And so once shale really stalls, which I think we're seeing right now, is you have to start going out to deep water, and that's where these offshore rigs have been in a brutal bear market. Obviously, a lot of them have gone bankrupt, restructured, and
including Valaris, right? It went through bankruptcy, right? And that,
Yeah,
and a
yeah,
lot of people get turned off by that, but in reality, that can actually be a great time to invest. That was a great time to invest in a number of coal stocks when they came out of bankruptcy because they extinguished most of their debt. The industry consolidates, then the inevitable upcycle comes along, and it's just like, man, they just coin money, and then eventually it gets overdone, and there's new builds, new ships are ordered, but right now there's almost no new builds on the horizon, right?
there's none at all, and there's no capacity to build them. So this, well, I kind of tried to have a theme that explained this called moats and cannibals, and it was like you want to buy stuff with the biggest moat if we're getting into sort of structurally higher inflation, and that will cannibalize their own stock, so they'll really go after their own share count. And I think probably at the top of that list is the likes of a Valaris, a Seadrill, or a Noble, and I think they'll probably combine. Like there'll be more consolidation. And I kind of joked if we get a Seadrill and a Valaris or a Noble and a Valaris, you're looking at sort of, I think I did the numbers on all the amount written off and all the consolidation. You're looking at sort of 14 to 15 billion of debt that's going to be written off that was used to acquire those rigs, and there is no capacity to build those rigs moving forward. So even if you were to come up with the money, which day rates don't, think to order a new one of these rigs, day rates will have to shoot well through sort of 800K a day, which at the moment they're still around the 400-500. So you've got to essentially double, and then you're going to be waiting 5 years for a shipyard, and then they've got to compete with these entities or these businesses that have all their rigs on their books with no no debt.
Written way down.
Yeah, and so I think there's going to be a beautiful period in which these can just when the day rates skyrocket, they'll just be printing cash, and there will be no ability to bring supply on. And so
Well, that's
that's
what I was going to say. Even
so
if day rates only went up, you were talking about 100% potential increase in day rates or a little bit more, but even if they went up 50%, things like companies like Valaris become absolute cash cows, right?
yeah,
And
100%.
that's when
And
they
then
can pay
you've got
big dividends and buy back shares. And like you say, it's just there's no chance really of any meaningful supply coming on for 5 years or so. So, and as some of the people on here know, and I know Cuppy, who's had a rough last year, but he's had tremendous. I was just reviewing his performance numbers since his fund started, and they're just phenomenal, even with last year's very disappointing results. And frankly, I think that's when you want to look at a money manager who's had a terrific track record going through a rough patch, especially if it's very explainable, as I think this one is. So I think there's huge money to be made in this space, and you're one of the few out there that it's shining a light on it.